and I have been very privileged being with the older generation working together. And also I teach in university, so always with a young generation. That gave me a lot of opportunities to see that what is the problem of our world, the opportunity of our world. So your question came to me about for the younger women, huh?
In these three topics.
Yes. To be honest, in my mind, I always think that my body is aging, but my mind is always young. And because I work in the academic, in education, part of currently the most important my job is hosting and managing 3 hospitals in Germany, burnout hospitals that look after women, look after mothers, look after children. And it's mainly European people, European families, and European mothers. It makes me really sad every time when I go to the hospital work, because I see that the problem is not only from the Asian women, it's also from the European women, that women are too much burned out. They work not 5 days, 6 days per week. They work 24/7. There is no breaking time. So many mothers, they work in the workspace. They have to look after their family, look after their parents, and then their disease, their mental stress coming from too many things on the plate. That is the things we want to look after. And then I remember several years ago when I joined the main Congress in the WEF, one of the topic is about the UN's SDG, huh? And one part of the SDG, 17 SDG is gender equality, that women need to be equal to men. And I told the host, I said that this is absolutely wrong topic.
So it's about
Yes,
men equality.
yeah, because in the human history, the gender and also in the biology, in genetic, the gender being discriminated is a man, it's not women, right? Everyone here, you always say my mother's side. And in the family, your mother holds the financial power, right? And in the children education, mother in the family holds the dominance. Father, I don't know, maybe working or maybe sleeping or maybe watching a football match, but father actually not making the play the most.
Oh, I love you for that. Let me come back. Linda.
And then in the
Dr. Young, we'll come back to you. Thank you.
yeah, and in the research, it shows that a good mother actually can prosperate 3 generations of the family. A good mother.
Thank you.
So we have to look after.
We hold it there.
Yeah.
Come back to you. Okay. So, at that session that talked about health gaps, do you still think in this time of age, even in the first world, access to health for women is limited, or the focus is limited, or the research for women health is limited?
Yes, I do. It's improving a lot. Now, you mentioned that there's a lot less. 1977, in the United States, the research went to men because of the thalidomide. Where there was a research and it caused a lot of miscarriages among women. So they decided to not have women in any research. 1993, the FDA required women in research. So more recently, they have to include women in research. They have to analyze the data to determine whether there are sex differences from a certain drug for cardiovascular disease, for cancer, etc. However, there are still a lot of disparities. Black women in the United States, maternal death rate is much higher than white women. Access to care is an issue. So there are still a lot of issues and problems. It is getting better. But there are still a lot of gaps, and some of those you had mentioned briefly. In addition, I'm a professor at the university. I started in 1993. When I was there, I was usually the only woman in the room. That has changed dramatically. Now there are many women in the room. Now half the medical schools are, or more than half, are women. However, there's still gaps. At major conferences, there's an awareness. There's always a woman moderator now at major conferences, but you go to local ones, that's not the case. You will have just men speaking up on the
Also about women.
in our university, there's a lot of promotion. There's the Women in Health Sciences. There's the Women Leadership Corps. There's all these things. I'm in health sciences. There's 3 schools: School of Medicine, School of Pharmacy, School of Public Health. For the first time, all deans are women. Now, the chancellor, vice chancellor is a man, but all 3 women. So there's a lot of
A
movement.
lot of change that is happening.
But also, the younger generation is not as tolerant. They do not stand for it. When I was at a women's conference early on, I was told I always worked at home 1 day a week. I would go to the schools, volunteer. I'd take the kids to their doctors. I'd work, but I said I'm working at home. Now that's not the case. They say I need to leave. I need to go take my daughter, my son to, and there's no hiding it. And it's much more accepted that this is what you just need to do. And the men are doing it as well. The men are taking more of a role in the family life. And so those kinds of strains with work and life, I don't call it balance.
So the debate,
balance,
thank you,
but,
Linda. Yes. So the debate in Pakistan is that we are raising empowered women, but we are not grooming our men to live with empowered women. And that is becoming a huge problem. On the research part, when they looked at how many women were now in the Congress, they realized that research money was also going for breast cancer, which is very prevalent in women, which initially used to just go to heart cardiovascular diseases, which is largely a male disease. Then back, because I also want to bring in as to what is happening in Pakistan. Pakistan now it is mandatory to have daycares, multinational corporations, which is something new, which allows women to continue work. A lot of them would give up on that. Then there is one multinational company, which is Dollins. I had a conversation with their CEO, and he told me that they are the only company in Pakistan that gives 1 day period leave. And he said he came under immense pressure from his entire company to change the name of the leave. Because they said, we are still taboo. We still don't want to talk. We don't want to talk about what women go through. So we turn it into a taboo. But this is a company in Pakistan which gives this leave with the name. Now coming back to AI and tech, the floor is yours. You've also been to Pakistan, I understand? No, never to Pakistan. So in AI, and you have, so I'll come back to you on that one. When it comes to AI, when it comes to technology, when it comes to digitalization, do you think women are catching up as fast as men?
Women have always caught up to men and beat them. Let's get one thing clear. There's no catching up. Culturally, we have to catch up, but women have always caught up, and statistically have been, I don't want to say better, more studious, let's say. But I want to take you back to something the Prime Minister said, something Chairman Ikram said yesterday, which is this idea of opportunity. So when I think about women empowerment, it's not charity, like, oh, we're going to empower these women. 50% of the Pakistani population today is made up of women. 50% of that is youth, women youth. And if you empower these women, and this is not doing it from charity, you're doing it because that's your return on investment is almost 90%. If you invest in education, health, political engagement, up to 90% of those women will give back to those sectors. And so you're doing a smart investment, an economic investment, a sustainable investment when you invest in women. Women empowerment is not like, oh, we're going to empower these women and move on. This is what's going to grow the country. The Prime Minister talked about we're now ready to grow. There is zero chance of growth
if you do not invest in the women in Pakistan and other places. But Pakistan, because they are 50%. I will share one story of how, so I run an organization called Humanitarian Tracker. It does crowdsourcing and AI for social good. We were actually the first to combine those two things in the social good space. And the spark came when I was very young in my career. I was working in the Middle East. My program director didn't want to go on this trip, so they sent me. So I was young and I said, sure, I'll go. I got on this bus, drove like 5 hours. Anyway, it was a graduation program for women who had gone back to school to learn how to read and write at a later age in life. So we funded this program. I went to the graduation. I sat through it. And then after it was done, one of the women came to me and she hugged me, thinking that I had been responsible for this. I was just the representative. And I asked her, so what made you decide to get involved? And she said, I'm married, I have 5 kids, and I was tired of somebody else reading the documents for me. I was tired of having to rely on my husband, who was apparently not a very good husband because she left him after she got a job, having to help me with these things. So I wanted to be a good role model. I went and I enrolled, I learned, I graduated, and then I got a job in the same institute to help other women. Now she cried, I cried, but that moment changed my life too. It changed her life and it changed my life. When I think of empowerment, I think of this lady. I think of the 13 million accounts Co-Chairman Ikram was talking about, 13 million. I think about Chairman Zarar and the opportunity for us to be here today, to have these conversations.
By the way, just to put things on record, I think this is my 6th or 7th time at Davos. We've always had a session on women empowerment. Always. So she spoke about panels. Back in Pakistan, we say we don't have panels, we have manuals. You spoke about it, Linda. So like there's no women, they're only men. And sometimes talk about what we need in life or what needs to be done for us also. I and Salma both work in the men's world. I still walk into a room where there are no women. And now I don't care. So I do what I do. And I so Salma, what is it like, working in this men's world? So, what we need to understand, what she just said, which is amazing, this is not charity. You have to do this for financial reasons. It's about economic growth. Makes good sense. Salma, over to you.
Thank you, Uma. I think I was expecting us to be very, professional, but the personal stories, they really add to those personal touch and the professional thing. When I started fairly young, and I used to be a very sleek, young, petite person.
Beautiful.
So, added. And many times that becomes a disadvantage, right? So even if you have passable looks. So when I started, half of my class students were taller than me. The only half who were not taller were the girls. And they would look at me and they're like, okay, here she is. We can attack her with different difficult questions. And I was a very unsmiling, a very fairly toxic teacher in the beginning.
Don't say that.
Because I really had to make my mark. And for each lecture that I delivered in my first 2-3 years, I would read at least 11 books, a minimum of 11 books,
Oh, wow.
to prepare one lecture. And I would then also write a script. And here I'm going to take a pause. Here I'm going to ask a question. I would look for difficult questions whom I had to pose on those students.
And you need to understand she's teaching at a public sector university. The class is something like 100 students. So it's not easy. It's not easy. So, Seema, I would want you to fast forward to policy.
So from there to this date, I agree with you. We get into rooms where you have no women. Even if you have women, they're only there to add to the total number. Their voice doesn't matter. If a woman contributes something to the conversation, she's heard. But the same stuff said by a male counterpart is something which is actually appreciated and repeated that Mr. So-and-so has said this, and that really makes a difference, despite the fact that a female colleague must have said that in the beginning. So these are the things that we still face. If there's a hard work, the woman does. If there are policy positions, the men are given preference for that. So these are the things that we are all put up against, and we have to.
Do you think this is changing? Do you think this is changing? Linda just said it's changing.
It's changing, and I agree that the younger generation is not tolerant towards being put on a back burner. The girls are very ferocious. They really want to make their mark. At times, as I was saying yesterday, you have to moderate them and tell them, not so fast, like, take your time, learn from the ropes. But for them, the ropes are not the same ropes that we learn from, and that's a very good thing. Now they have a lot of hands-on tools, which they're getting into. But still, the parents' generation is still wired in the old-fashioned school of thought, where the girl is a girl and the boy is given the
So we have that those mindsets, those
We are
exist.
fighting against all those.
So I know that a very smart girl will be asked to stay at home and do a local degree, and a not so smart boy would be funded to go abroad and do his studies.
Absolutely.
So this happens all the time. These girls come to my office in tears that my father or my family will not fund my foreign education. And I sometimes tell them maybe they don't have the money. Says, no, they have the money because I'm a girl. So, and then they in time internalize it. So I'm going to come to a young person. You were in Russia, and then you were in UK, and then you became a commentator for BBC and Bloomberg, I understand. And you comment on hardcore financial issues. Is that right?
Yes, so I'm a senior advisor in data and technology. I was brought up in Russia. I was brought up to be a housewife. I'm the first woman in my family to work. I'm also the first person in my family to work in a corporate. I've had an opportunity to work in UK for Accenture, KPMG, Oliver Wyman. Recently, I moved to Saudi Arabia. So actually, I'm helping the women of GCC, in terms of progressing, and there is a lot of growth. I had an opportunity to visit Pakistan, and, I met Abu Bakr there. I was a state guest, and, I've seen firsthand the youthful population and, the women that really want to progress and, to make a change. So something which I see from my personal story is the opportunity that you mentioned, because I did not have the opportunity. I come from a very, very poor background. And, I taught myself in terms of winning the Moscow Olympiad, going to university, coming to UK on my own, and, persevering through the corporate structure, which I've never seen myself before. And for me, it's really about creating opportunities for other, women, both in the UK and Russia and globally now in Saudi Arabia and beyond. And I feel that where it starts is not just where the corporates start helping, like the big corporates we see, but it starts from the very, childhood. Because we see a lot about AI right now, and AI is an opportunity to equalize, right? Because you don't have to code anymore. You don't have to do very, very detailed scientific stuff.
How savvy are women with this? Because with STEM education, we still struggle. STEM education, the number of women, STEM is science, technology, engineering, maths. Now they've called it STEAM. It's STEAM. AI is included. Back in Pakistan, we're struggling with women opting for STEM education. They would opt for softer subjects, social sciences, but not hardcore STEM subjects.
What we see is typically, so historically, women were known for programming a few years ago, like a few decades ago, before, the boys took over. So it's probably at the age of 5 or 6 when this interest kind of stops, when women perhaps start pursuing something else. But a lot of it is around, showing the role models, showing the opportunities. And I mentioned with AI, it's not super scientific anymore. So there are opportunities to do other jobs, like product manager, project manager, building new applications, doing design, doing fashion, doing lots of new things which we haven't done before. And I think what I've seen, I was the first person to go to university in my family, and I was a scientist in maths. The ratio of girls to guys was...
What were the triggers for that?
Well, actually, my grandmother wanted me to be a housewife, so she thought that if the ratio is 10 to 1, I would definitely get married. So I did a bachelor and a master's, and I still did not get married. But I really wanted to, I personally was good in math, so I wanted to, move out of my place where I was. I was in a small place in a small town, and I wanted, to just have more opportunity.
Thank you for that. So, yeah, why not? So we what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 women, we let one man speak. Hassan, the floor is yours. And what do you have to say to such an empowered woman here?
Yeah, it's a pleasure. First of all, thank you for allowing me on to join you. I'll stand a little bit to the side so I'm not blocking you. I'm going to expand a little bit on the AI. As you know, I work for AWS. I lead the Gen AI adoption across US on strategic accounts, and so I come across a lot of interesting things. We're talking a lot about what's possible. I want to start a little bit by talking about what's already happened or what's happening in that space, and then maybe throw some challenge out there for what's possible and what we need to do to enable it. There's a Ba-Ikhtiyar program in Pakistan. And among other things, one of the things they did was make available through mobile AI-enabled e-commerce. And it allowed women in rural areas to work remotely because they can run their e-commerce business. But more importantly, the way AI played a role into it is that they could take photographs of the clothes that they were selling and generate images without models or any usage, and then showcase them. So it's kind of an example of bringing the boardroom into the rural areas as opposed to the other way as well. There's the Avaze Sehat program with LUMS. It's kind of initial stages where they've had essentially the first line healthcare provision through AI, where the triaging happens at the AI and then it gets escalated to the human level. And they've rolled this out to about 500 women, where in some cases 7% higher detection rates, and in other cases up to 40%. So good initial results. Hopefully looking forward to that expanding. The Sindh government's done something similar. The problem still remains: 38% less women are likely to have cell phones in Pakistan. So everybody needs access. That inclusion is still lagging. So yes, while Asan Mobile makes it easy to make an account in less than 2 minutes, the problem is still a lot of people don't have access to cell phones. A lot of these AI models are not accessible without them. I want to tie it up from what's possible now, right? These are some of the things happening, but I want to open it up a little bit about what's the art of the possible. And I think I want to start with TCF because ultimately enablement comes, as Alina's example, with education. Access to education. So customized education is important. I myself sit on the DC chapter board for TCF. This past November, we raised $4.6 million and 8 new schools just from the DC chapter, which is one of the highest grossing chapters. But the problem is that we can't keep up. It's still a lot of girls that are not being educated. About 50% of the girls.
Dropout rate for girls is very high.
Dropout rates, especially during COVID, one of the problems we were struggling with was trying to keep them in school. So one of the things I'm exploring, and I'd like everybody to kind of indulge in this as well, is how do you build customized education? Because there are language barriers in Pakistan. We have 16 plus unique languages, then they each have their own dialects. And we were talking about the STEAM portion of it in terms of how to get women involved. I think the issue is not that women are not interested in engineering. The issue is that the medium in which it's being taught is not conducive to it. It's kind of the same problem that you were referring to earlier in terms of not having women involved at the NIH in studies. So the same thing needs to happen at the customized education, where for the boys it's more visual. Maybe it needs to be some other mechanism to help. And AI with customized education for every single student in the same class.
So you think AI is the route for inclusivity, especially for women?
So some of the new models in AI are able to have real-time conversations in different dialects, and almost like having a team of teachers that are teaching one student as opposed to the other way right now. So that's just resource-wise, that's not possible with the human resources. AI can enable that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. It's great input. I'm going to come back to you, ladies. And well, I was having this discussion around this panel, what are we going to talk about? What is it going to like? Everybody asked me what is the set of questions. I told them I don't ever have a set of questions. I do it by instinct. And then the whole discussion about what is empowerment. I think what you see on the backdrop, women empowerment, financial inclusion, and family healthcare. This is a triangular relationship. You cannot have women empowerment unless you have economic empowerment, and that economic empowerment doesn't happen unless there is financial inclusion. And if health gaps continue to exist and you don't take the cycles women go through into consideration, then their participation will always be compromised. So, Dr. Young, my question to you is, what is your and this time you have just 2 minutes each, and then we'll open the session. What is empowerment to you? Are we treating it right?
Okay. Question in short answer is it really depends on your mentality. And then everyone here talking about, for example, you talk about you're already used to going to the boardroom full of men, and then you're already used to that. You accept that. I have to say that this is only one layer of the men and women things. And actually, for me, like an Asian face in Europe, I have to accept not only this, but also only an Asian women face going to the boardroom that is full of white, middle-aged men that they don't listen, and then that's super difficult. So there is a channel for men, like for women, like going to school and being empowered. But once you're going to the glass ceiling, that's the most difficult moment. Yep, to break.
So to you, empowerment is more equity and more acceptance?
Okay, my own experience, when I heard my university, the top leader, even the mayor, telling me that, hey, you're Asian face, we cannot promote you even higher.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. And then, I already reached to the dean level, president level, and I say that I'm done. I'm going to do it by myself. I build up my own university. I build up my own hospital. And in the future, you come to my hospital, you come to my university to study. And then I realized.
Thank you so much. Salma, what is empowerment to you in Pakistan's context?
Empowerment primarily for me is being heard. The equity part is very important. Many a times you don't really need to be ahead because you have to check out where the landmines are, but you need to be ahead because someone voluntarily wants you to be there. And in that, many a times, not only the family, your blood relatives, but also your partners are very important. And I would really compliment my husband in that because when we got married, I chose very, very precisely as to who's the person I want to marry.
Oh, you had the choice to do that.
I had a choice to do that. So I was empowered in that regard.
Imagine.
I had a mother who
But
was
also
a typical
because
mother.
you married at a mature age.
Yeah, but
This empowerment does not come to women in
Exactly.
Pakistan naturally.
I had a family.
Marriage is not a choice, it's imposed.
But in my case, we had an open choice. You don't want to get married, don't get married. And the entire society would be like, how can you do that? Right? So the mission was to get the daughters married. And here was a family which
Continues to be the case.
So
To you,
empowerment starts from home.
So let me, because I want to open the session to the audience. To you, empowerment is choice?
Empowerment is choice. Empowerment is
Because I think that's
allowing you the
critically important.
opportunities.
Because choice also means that you choose not to be a breadwinner. We have started slotting that choice out. Women have 2 jobs. They can choose to do one. Or like men can choose to be homemakers. Why can't we make that switch? If I'm good at making money and my spouse is not, why can't we switch roles? So we still haven't matured to that level.
Yeah. So
What is empowerment to you?
So for me, I had to overcome a lot of challenges, right? And hit a lot of doors and get a lot of rejections and to fail and never give up. So for me, it's really about creating opportunities. And, whether it's a senior gentleman or whether it's a colleague, it's having an opportunity to introduce, to advise and to help.
Linda.
I think that one thing that's overlooked is the informal networks. I think a lot of the men, when they're creating a session or an academic, they just think of their friends, right? They have this network. And I think the women have to be networking with women, with the men more, informally, going out, That's
And you
always-
play golf less.
Well, a lot of things happen still in those situations, and
I
they have-
actually started playing golf because I was not getting it.
and I think that a lot of the informal things that are happening are not happening with the women.
Right. What is empowerment to you? And we're opening the floor now. Some of it's tough questions for these.
Empowerment is an individual choice. Because what's right for me may not be right for you, may not be right for you. And so what we think about empowerment as this big thing that's going to hit you in the face. It's actually a lot of small acts that women before us built and fought for. And we came and stood on their shoulders and built some more. And maybe I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and that's empowerment to me. And maybe you want to go and work 10 jobs, and that's empowerment to you. And maybe in the it's that cell phone that Sunny talked about. And maybe it's getting into a boardroom and not feeling small, feeling seen. So empowerment, when we reach that level, when empowerment is personalized.
It's personalized, it's maturity, it's choice. Okay, Salma, you want to put in a word there?
Just one word. Many a times, an empowered woman who knows what to say, who is bold enough to sit here and talk, is also considered that, okay, she can be harassed because, oh, she's a bold, brazen woman. So that also has to be addressed, that not every empowered woman can easily be harassed.
I think that is a choice, and that's
Yeah.
what she said, a gradual
But
change
that's the point.
in the societal construct.
So many a times men feel that if there's a woman, the woman in the room, oh, we can harass her, make comments, say silly stuff and get away with that. And especially in my situation, I've seen this happening a lot of times. Whenever young women come and complain about gender harassment, it's never taken seriously.
Yes,
It's
we need to
always blame
trivialize
the
it.
victim.
We need to
Yeah.
trivialize it. I'm going to say something about Pakistan. This is my favorite sentence back home. I say, some terrible husbands are making fantastic fathers. They are standing right behind their daughters to let them become who they are. And with that provocative statement, I'll open it to the audience. Any questions? Fareed Alim. So the questions are to them.
My simple observations, and I'll come back to your statement first. You said something on what I heard when I was young: the only good husbands stay bachelor. They're too considerate to be married. So I remember my personal, a personal thought. When I asked my wife to learn driving, she was hesitant, and for years, then I got her car and she drives. So very late I realized that she was not willing to be a driver in the family. So she said, no, the time I learn driving, I will have to do some household chores as well. And one more thing, she said, she's a housewife. So she says,
The homemaker.
the homemaker, yeah. Yeah, that's a lovely word for her. So the two things. One is that whenever my guests, when my friends came for dinner, she would say, "Muha." Then I started. We made a bet, or we made a deal that each time my friends will come unannounced, and they will want to have food, I'll pay you $200. And she was happy. Yeah, as a pocket money. And the last thing that
I'm going to speak to your wife.
you should. And the last part is that my observation, she takes care of my accounts. So every investment, every payment,
So we have a word for this now, Fareed Alam sir. Some of you may know this and some of you may not. We call it weaponizing incompetence. Women do it less, men do it more. I can't do the housework, I can't take care of the children, I can't put them to sleep. A lot of that is changing now. Women also weaponize incompetence sometimes. I can't drive, and maybe it's I don't want to drive. But essentially, there are two concepts that are floating right now in the feminist literature. One is, glory. So, reflective glory. A woman with pleasure will stand up and cheer for a husband, a son, and a brother? How many men will stand up for a woman who's done better than him? Very good. So I'm just going to take 2 minutes. You know, I was in this global conversation. There were people from South Africa. It was a global conversation on one of these women's days. And I was, of course, a part of the panel where there were South Asian women. So the question that was put to us was, we always say there is a woman behind a successful man, because if you're not successful, you're not getting there. Anyways, but who is behind a successful woman? Who is behind a successful woman? So I gave a very cautious answer. I said a secure man is behind a successful woman. But there was somebody very famous with me on that chat. And she said, Huma, let's be honest. Every successful woman has broken relationships behind her. Very few men can take up, can put, and I'm largely talking about South Asian cultures. You wanted to make a comment?
I love the thought about who's behind a successful woman. And from my lens, the most important is the partner.
The partner?
The partner. So I want to give thanks actually to my partner, Taha, who's sitting in the corner, working quietly.
Okay. How many wives are thanking them?
But
My man is not around.
I want to add one thing besides my partner. It's the tribe behind the woman.
Try.
It's her parents. It's her best friends. It's the people that listen to her when she calls at night. She's, wonder can she do it.
But I also
It's
wonder if it is also
Sorry.
about fixing each other's crown. Have we created that network? Do we help other women? So back to you guys. Any questions? Husbands? Questions? Speechless.
I feel for this that
No, don't.
instead-
Aurangzeb, put up a question there. Tell me about women participation in AI in Pakistan. Can somebody please pass on the mic? Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
This is women empowerment, putting you on the spot, right there. So, women participation in AI, is that what your question is? I think I spent the last 13 months in Pakistan and facilitating the IT industry. And I am so optimistic, to be very, very blunt and honest. The young generation that is coming out of it, especially the young female entrepreneurs that are out there. You go out and talk to the universities, you will see, I think 10 years ago, you would not see that many women, young girls, having creative ideas, building products, and I think so pleasant change that is coming and it's emerging. I don't think so we are there yet, to be very honest. I think we're still dealing with the urban populations and the rural populations of the divides. But how bad is the digital divide? I think I would divide it in a two-dimensional way. If you look at it, the rural side of it, it's pretty massive. If it is in the urban cities, I don't see that much divide anymore. To be honest, I see more women in the space, especially in the tech space, that are coming up. And I think I see that divide has been narrowed down to almost nothing. But in the rural side, that divide is massive. And I think that's what we need to continue to work on. Because I think that is not just the woman itself, it's the men, as you said. It's always the men that will empower the women. No, it is the truth, right? It's always that how you empower.
You see, it's at least in South Asia, we live in patriarchal. It's a patriarchal society, and it's changing. It's going to take a very long time to switch, be of the kind where there's choice, where there's opportunity, where there's support, where there's equity. These are the terms that have come out of this panel discussion. All right, any more questions? You have? Oh, okay, Titala and Bilal. So after Titala, then Bilal becomes and Salma's husband, Khalid Lanori.
So I'm Imran and part of Pathfinder Citadel team. I just want to share my personal story. I come from a very small town in Pakistan, and it was very difficult to accept in growing up in that culture that women are equal to men. And then I moved to Islamabad for my engineering degree, and then I did MBA from Hult International Business School. So I still claim I'm not there, but I'm trying to be there. That where I accept this and I acknowledge this, that women are equal and even better in some dimensions. In my first job, I was working with female colleagues, and we were doing programming. So that was the first time I realized that they have equal mind power, and they can beat us any day. And that was the turning point.
So I'm glad you're honest. I'm really glad that you're honest enough to acknowledge that, because a lot of men in Pakistan will never acknowledge it.
No,
And that's why I say lousy husbands make great fathers, because when the realization comes, it comes for the child and not for the spouse. But I'll come back to you.
One more point.
Yes.
Now I'm the father of 2 daughters. And
Oh, you make a fantastic father, I tell you. Farhan, I'll come back to you, Farhan.
I noticed that in myself. I'm not a lousy husband, but I am a much better father than I am a husband. And I'm just curious from a woman's perspective, how does that make mothers or wives sort of feel, and how can we do better as men for women, especially if that is a moment. And when I became a father of a daughter, that's when the light switch, completely sort of changed. And I'm just curious, how do we show up as better husbands when it comes?
Okay, so I'm going to put this question to the mother of 3 very accomplished girls, Linda.
I think just listen and support and be there and take up the tasks that are women's tasks. And why are they women's tasks? And do the carpooling and pick up the kids and do the cooking or things that are and have a split and discuss the split. It doesn't have to be. It can be. I could do the cooking because I like cooking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be gender. It could be traditional, but make sure there's a split in tasks that help out.
So housework is housework. It's not women's work. You know, we probably need to make this distinction. Farhan.
Well, just listening to you all, as a matter, it's very inspiring. I do not agree with the statement that you said that men and women are equal. I don't.
We're better.
Oh, you are far better. And frankly speaking, I'm speaking it from my heart, and father of 2 daughters, and been married for, like, say, 29 years. I truly believe it's practically not possible for men to raise kids or to raise families. You might have heard and seen, because I've been raised by a single mother, and I lost my father very early. And I truly believe if wife leaves somehow to eternal abode, man.
Husband will marry the 3rd day.
True. No, it's not that the husband married. He is incapacitated. He does not have the
So,
capacity.
Farhan, we can have a discussion on that, but because that is weaponizing incompetence. That is weaponizing incompetence. This is exactly what Linda said. I keep saying it's housework, it's not women's work. And by the way, we have statistics to prove that career trajectories for women are slower because they have the burden of housework. If you're going to put a timeline on when women were truly acquired freedom to become economically empowered, there were 2 inventions that made it happen. Most of you probably know it was the washing machine and it was the birth control pill. That gave women freedom. Right, doctor? So those are the 2 things. So what is the washing machine? It's housework. What is a birth control pill? It is a choice. So I think we need to understand what statistics tell us and then give sweeping statements. There's a man who employs a lot of women. I want him to talk about it. Ikram Sagar. Somebody please pass on the mic.
I think we've had this conversation with you earlier. I was very young at that time when East Pakistan and West Pakistan became Pakistan and Bangladesh. I used to go to Bangladesh after my sister died. And the regiment that my father had raised and I had served in was ruling Bangladesh. Ziaur Rahman, and Irshad, and Shafiullah, and all these people. So they were at the moment in power. And the person who was my best friend was the virtual prime minister of the country. And he used to work late at night, get up late in the morning. So I used to go and sit in the drawing room waiting for him to get up. And I used to meet one gentleman there who was very anxious to get things done, right? And, he was Muhammad Yunus, the one who made the Grameen Bank. So he, as an army officer, I grew up thinking a letter of credit, Elsie was a girl. So I didn't know much about it. But, he was trying to explain. And he explained to me that if you bring women into the cycle and you give them, make the chicken and eggs and then garments and you give them money, then they'll go and spend that money. And that money will be spent in salons or this thing, etc. The cycle goes on. And he correctly said what you're discussing now because of the developing countries. He said the time will come with these women will get the self-confidence to become entrepreneurs themselves, right? So it was a gradual process. And so I believe, like you said, I believe that you have to get, women involved. I think the classic example of that is my sister-in-law, Iram. Right? She came out of high school and joined me, right? And today she heads one of the largest, companies of surveillance equipment in the country.
Successful person.
Yeah.
Phone call away. That's what I like about it.
Yeah. So and similarly, if you go down, right? I've got example of, I would say, the people who are here today. I've got a lot of females from the company. They're working like you saw them serving tea, going around, putting up, people putting up banners and all that, So just to give you an idea, people ask me this question that how did you bring a huge contingent? Where you taking them, etc. The cost of putting up one banner in the stage in Davos is 25,000 Swiss francs. Right? So if you have two functions, I'm not talking the hall rental, etc., just the banner. So if you have two, that means that's 50,000 Swiss francs. That covers my 30 people coming to Davos and back. So what I want to say is that, you have to get women into the economic mainstream. If you do not get women, and by the way, there's a lot of people which none of you talk about. What about the women working in the agriculture fields?
Unpaid labor.
Is there unpaid labor? Is their labor quantified? Right? So you should have to quantify that labor. And that is very hard labor. Right?
There is a move to quantify all unpaid labor.
And
Actually make it a part of the GDP.
And our success in the Asan mobile account, in the transactions. Now, I said yesterday and that when we started, there were 80% of Pakistan's population did not have bank accounts. Now 70% do not have, but we have added 13.5 million accounts. The average. That's what, yes, we say, out of the old time, 18% were the account, women account, 18% only. Today, the AMA account is 38% women. But another thing, 60% of the transactions are being done by women. So our success is based on feeding the women population the right economic
So
status.
it makes hardcore economic sense.
Hardcore economic sense, and also that when you make the women self-confident, they're more interested in the education of our children, education of the health of our children, right? Then you also make sure that you put less burden on the state, right? So all these are intangibles which nobody figures out.
By the way, we did a study and they found out that if the mother has done basic high schooling, she is more conscious of her child's health, will take her for medical attention far quicker, and because we were looking at mortality rates. So mortality rates of women who've just done high school are lower than uneducated women, because we also have a lot of women who have no access to literacy. So I'm going to come back here. I have exactly 10 minutes to wind this up. 2 minutes, last word on your takeaway from this discussion, and we'll start with you. And this time we go.
I want to add one thing to Chairman Ikram's comment, which is about quantifying this work. And so being a full-time domestic engineer, which is the fancy word for housewife. So being a domestic engineer, including childcare and all the household chores, is like having 10 jobs, 10 full-time jobs. They tried to quantify it. 10 full-time jobs, imagine. And I think they estimated that it would pay about $300,000 annually. So when you hear those numbers, it's pretty. This is real data. My final words is that two things. One, I want to appreciate the men that have the self-awareness to say, I did not know better and now I know better and I will try better. At the end of the day, it's teamwork, right? Like women empowerment, yes, we're standing on the shoulders of all the brave women that came before us, men and women, but also we need our partners in this. And not just your life partner, your partners.
So,
Thank you.
your takeaway?
Well, that was going to be my takeaway, that everyone here in this room, it's not just the women, it's not just the men, but to spread and to share our vision and understanding and our personal stories about how we got to where we are and what needs to be done. Every country is different, every field is different, but we need to work together to be able to empower women.
Thank you so much for having me here. So I'll just go back. I had this opportunity to be in Pakistan, right? And I thought that it was really a unique opportunity to see firsthand the youthful population, the women. We had some of the conversations. We spoke with PSAF, with Pasha. We had some of the panels. And I think really it's the time, if we take the context of Pakistan, in addition to digital investment, to invest into women and starting from the younger age.
Thank you. Salma.
I think education and economics are the two keys to empowerment, and having a strong network of partners, your own family, your primary family, the person you are married to or partner with, that makes and breaks even an empowered woman. And having a person who has this courage and also the comfort zone that he can take a back seat and allow the woman even to make mistakes and not put her on a dark spot matters a lot. And that helps the next generation as well.
I think 2 points at a national level and the economic world level. The GDP, this stupid index, should be changed. Because every woman, if you, like you have said, 10 times of the full time, right? 10 times of full time. That's only at the unit level. But at the long-term level, women's value should be counted as how many children, this children's value for the future value. It's like how banks measure your assets, measure your future value, same. And second, at individual level, from our practical experience in the hospital, no matter from Germany or Asia, every stressed out woman will stress out the whole family, especially children. It's scary. And then if you look at the background reason, it's always relationship with men. That's why the young generation after 2000, they refuse to get married. They refuse to get children. That's the most dangerous things for the whole world. If women stop producing children, we have no humanity. So men, please get ready and listen to women and
Okay, so I would want to, before I give for a vote of thanks to Mr. Kram Sehgal, I just want to end on this note. It's not about us and they. It's about this planet. It's about our children. The best favor that you can do to your child, your flesh and blood, is love his or her mother. Secure homes actually bring the best talent out. So if you want to make our homes secure for our children, then we need to be nicer to women. It's simple common sense. Kram Sehgal sir, for vote of thanks, please. And thank you for being the lovely audience.
Before I would like to present you a solid example of women entrepreneurship. I have here a lady who cannot speak English, Zakia. She is from a village called Pabbi. 4 years ago, she came to me and said, can you give me, she used to work at the health unit previously before she got married, and she got married. She said, I was sitting, after producing so many children, in one room, I started helping out the women in my village. So she said, in one room, I've opened up a little bit of a clinic and I dish out headaches, pills, etc., drip, etc. So I said, how much money do you need? He said, 25,000 for medicine. But give me the medicine, don't give me the money. Please, one room, 25,000 rupees. Then after some time, she came to me and says, I need a bigger place because more women are coming to me for help. So I said, okay. Then she came to me and said, the women in my village, they are exploited because the people who send the baskets, they give them 12 rupees per basket. And they sell the same basket for 75, 80 rupees. They give them the material, but they give them the basket. So I said, okay, we'll give you the material. So we give her the material. Now she gives the people who make baskets, she gives them 36 rupees instead of 12 rupees. And approximately she makes about 5,000 to 6,000 baskets a month. Right now she said directly. Then she came to me and said, the women have teeth problems, the male do not allow them to go to a medical unit. So we bought second-hand dental unit and put a dental unit there. Right? The dental unit, then now she's a full-fledged dentist. She got 30 to 40 women come to her for teeth because they can't go to the male dentist because of teeth problem. Right? Then she gave me sewing machine, 10 sewing machines, it's up to 100 sewing machines now, right? And then started, other than that, she said, she said that destitute women don't have dowry, they don't have makeup. She said, we'll make a salon and give them the salon. So now she started training women on salons. Those women have opened up 4 salons in that town, right? Now that is women entrepreneurship.
Yes. But I personally think that there is not one Zakia.
And by the
there
way,
are many Zakias.
and she has not understood a word of what I have said. But
I'm going to. So there's not one Zakia. I think there's a Zakia in every home. It's about opportunity. It is about funding. It is about believing in women. Believe in us. Believe in your own women, not just your daughters, but also your wives. Thank you all.